Hey guys, it's a steaming pile of ship here, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at the Tier 10 American carrier, the USS Midway. I apologize, well, I was going to say once again, but yeah, I guess that's true. I apologize for not having a video up last weekend. Unfortunately, Adobe Premiere has been giving me a lot of trouble lately, and long story short, I've just not been able to even cut and edit the videos until now. So we're finally getting it hopefully back up. I hope this isn't getting to you too late, but I will be putting up a second video shortly after this one. So if you're watching this one, be prepared. I'll probably have another one uploading fairly shortly after that one. Not 100% sure on that. My Wi-Fi has been, or I shouldn't say Wi-Fi, but my internet has been very trash lately as well, and it has kind of been making it a little bit difficult to do anything. So I might not even be able to upload. I apologize if that's the case, but we should be seeing two videos, not just one. Now this is a slightly older Midway replay. This is 0.6.7. Wait, yes, 0.6.7. There was a nerf to the Midway, but it was a nerf to the armor, and that was really the only change between the updates to the ship. So I feel that showing this battle is still relevant because realistically, I'm not going to be doing any tanking and that's obviously important because the only nerf to the ship was the armor. They nerfed the armor on the bow and the stern so that destroyers have a little bit of an easier time just dealing with carriers if they catch them. And I think that's kind of fair. I mean, a carrier should be struggling if a destroyer is able to flank them. Especially a carrier like the Midway. The Midway, in my opinion, is pretty good at dealing with destroyers. The dive bombs on it are extremely powerful. Speaking of powerful, that is a lot of powerful anti-aircraft there in the form of two enemy Minotaurs, so I want to bring my fighters way away from those. And we have spotted a Fletcher with our fighters over here. I want to keep him spotted because there are only two enemy destroyers, and we know where both of them are right now. So if I keep one of them spotted, hopefully the other destroyer will remain spotted enough for someone to deal with him. And there he was. You can see he's smoking up, and I have been moving my bomber squadrons over here. I'm going to try and torpedo him out of his smoke. It looks like he's going to end up right in this little channel here where you see me dropping the marker. And I'm going to try and line up so that I can drop the torpedoes in that little area. Now I wanted to drop there, but they're going to land on the island, so we're going to pull the torpedo bombers back and try and get a better drop in this little channel. I've got the dive bombers on standby right here, so as soon as he comes out of the, well, there he goes. I really should have called off on the torpedo bombers there. Unfortunately, there's a going to miss, but I was trying to get the dive bombers ready and unfortunately missed. And those might be misses too. Yeah, it looks like they were. A lot of enemy planes heading towards our friendly Iowa, so I wanted to get the fighters down here, and of course, since I was doing that, well, now I had to deal with basically not having to react, or not having the ability to react to the Fletcher moving. So we only got an incapacitation, but I'd say it was probably well worth it because we managed to really hamper the enemy Midway's offensive power against this Iowa here. We are aggroed with the fighters. I'm going to try and strafe into my own fighter, well, to the fighter blob and strafe out with the other squadron. And it looks like we're doing fairly well with that. Yes, we shot down all but one, and the Iowa AA will more than likely take him out, or I will take him out as well. And we're going in, trying to take out the rest of these dive bombers. And that's one of the great things about the Midway, is it's got very, very good fighters. You have very good options for fighters. I mean, on a plane-by-plane basis, they're pretty dang good. They're very sturdy. They do a decent amount of damage. One of the other things about them is they have more planes per squadron, and that really means that they are fairly powerful, taking out other planes. With the Midway, you can also get a very, very devastating towards enemy carriers loadout with the air superiority loadout. I don't really like to use it. I actually don't even know if I have it fully researched yet. Well, I think I might have it. I probably have it unlocked, but I don't think I have it. I know I don't have it purchased if I have it unlocked, because I'm not going to use it. Personally, I think if you get to tier 10 in a carrier, you should probably be doing more than just straight up shooting down other planes. You know, to me, if you're going to play a carrier just to shoot down planes, just go get a Saipan. Ruin people's day down at tier 7, you know? We are starting to get pushed on our area, so I'm going to actually move the ship closer to our cap, and we are going to go in and try and deal with some of these ships over here. The dive bombers are not quite taking off. We're recovering the fighters first, but the torpedo bombers are here. And what's nice about this is by the time I land these torpedoes on him and he repairs, the dive bombers should be almost in the area and ready to attack him and restart any damage over time that he may have gotten. We should get a flood. Yes, we did get a flood. I was hoping that we would get a flood by hitting the rear of the ship like that. And we do. We also take out his steering, so I'm very, very certain that he has no reason to not use his damage control, and it looks like he has. Now we are sending the dive bombers over there, and at this point there comes to be sort of a little bit of a dilemma. One of the things about carriers that I always, you really need to keep in mind when you play carriers is that they are very limited in how many times they can actually strike in a match. You know, there's only so many times that you can get your little bit of. Okay, I think that was done. And that was a miss, of course. Sometimes that the little zoom in view is really bad, and I always miss. I don't have the depth perception. But you need to realize when you're playing carriers that you have basically a limited amount of strikes that you're capable of doing. It does look like he probably will put that fire out. We only got one, so I'm going to assume he's going to live. But we should have torpedo bombers in the area pretty soon, and there are a couple battleships in the area that might be able to finish him off too. But due to the fact that due to the fact that you have a limited amount of strikes, the dilemma here is I don't really want to waste my torpedo bombers on this Amagi, because if he's about to die, and I only need one torpedoes, it's kind of better if I use the Alpha Strike on a different ship, which is why I'm kind of sending them towards this Mogami here. And the Amagi looks like he is almost dead, but I would be very, very surprised if he doesn't put the fires out. Well, I guess he doesn't really have the option now, because these shells are going to probably kill him. And they do get the kill. Ironically, I probably would have killed that guy if it weren't for those shells coming in there. He might not have been using the premium consumables. But now we have the thing, we have basically a full health target here, and this is what I was getting at. When you have targets like this, I'm drawing the fighter here to try and take that fighter out to make it easier to strike this Mogami. But when you have a full health target, it's a much better target, in my opinion, because realistically, and here's where I don't really want to strike him now, but due to the fact that you do have limited amount of strikes, it's better to deal your damage most efficiently, I guess, if that makes sense. So we are in the AA bubble of this Missouri, but I do want to force him to angle away, and we are going to do an alt drop right here. I'm really hoping I can just hit him with one or two torpedoes in the nose to start flooding, because I do have dive bombers ready to go right now, and if we get him flooding now, he will basically have to repair, and he has, so now we're going to follow him up with some dive bombers. And this is another thing that carriers should keep in mind. You do have a limited amount of strikes per game when you think about it, so what you want to do is try to maximize the damage over time that you can do to other ships. We only hit this Missouri here for, I think, what was that, maybe 10,000 damage? But he was forced to use his repair or his damage control, because he was flooding. Well, now I'm going to follow him up with dive bombers here. And this is important because if I can get some fires burning on him, they're going to be burning for their full duration, most likely. And let's see if I don't have better depth perception for this drop. And there we go. 14,000 damage and 2 fires that are going to stick for a while. He is turning in. I'm not really sure that using the last dive bomber squad here is the best idea. I can only set, most likely one more fire, but certainly I'll still do damage with the bombs themselves. And I really hope this isn't actually lagging for you. It's jumping around quite a bit for me right now. But yeah, 1,000 damage or 10,000 damage there, and another fire. So that guy's limping back home with his tail between his legs. And that's all because I forced him to flood earlier. Now this is where I do decide not to go back for him. He's not really a threat where he's at to anybody. Plus we have 2 Minotaurs in the area, and quite frankly, the Minotaurs, if they want to, can probably deal with him if he decides to turn back. This is where, though, I realize we need to do something about the enemy Yamato here. So I have my torpedo bombers incoming. You might have noticed the enemy carrier got killed. I'm still not sure, even though I've seen this replay a few times now. I'm not sure when he got killed, but I'm totally happy. I certainly had a good game because of it. But now we're going to, basically, using the black torpedoes, I think this was the black that fired these, we're going to basically do a cross drop on this Yamato so that he's going to have to hit some of these torpedoes. He's not going to be able to dodge all of them. We managed to hit 5 of them and do 35,000 damage to him, which is a very big amount, or a very big hit, I should say. And again, we started flooding on him, so now if the black sets him on fire or the Minotaur in the other black torpedo sets hit him, he's basically screwed. He can sit here and bow tank with his armor all he wants, but it doesn't matter one bit if a torpedo hits his bow because it's going to start flooding, and it looks like he's about to have that problem very quickly. These black torpedoes might be slow, but they deal a lot of damage, and he is certainly done now. This does give me perfect opportunity to go after a fairly full health North Carolina. Ironically, that is not the Missouri that we were targeting earlier, although he has about the same amount of health that we left him on. But we are going to try and shoot down some of these planes here. Those were just spotters, but they might spot the friendly black or the Minotaurs, that types of thing. So we want to help destroy those, even though they're really not a threat to us. Taking them out is very handy. And we're going to try and land a fire or 2 on him. We just get 1, which is kind of lackluster. And now we're waiting on Group 6 to get over there. But it might not actually matter because it looks like this guy's about to die. I do want to move my fighters out of here. One of the things about the Midway, you'll notice in my reserves, if you're watching this on a large enough screen, I still have a ton of planes in reserve. The Midway, one of the reasons I went for it originally was, A, there's less squads overall that I have to micromanage, which was important to me being newer to carriers, and B, realistically, you have tons of planes when you get to the Midway. That was important in my opinion because I felt that, I think it's 136 planes you get. To me, that's a very large number, and I didn't feel as likely to run out with those as I would on the Hakuryu, which only gets, I think, around 100. So, we started 2 fires on this North Carolina, and we are going to follow up with a torpedo bomber attack. He might dodge a lot of these, I'm not going to lie. That was a bad drop. Well, let's see. Yeah, he's going to dodge most of those. We'll hit him with 2, start flooding on him. We do get the Witherer, which is pretty nice, and I think this guy must have taken damage earlier and repaired it, because that guy just flooded to death and burned. At this point, there's 1 enemy battleship and an enemy cruiser. The cruiser is a Minotaur, and the battleship is the Missouri that we were hitting on, quote-unquote, a little bit earlier. Hitting on is probably the wrong way to put it, but attacking earlier. I do like that Missouri. That's a very fun ship. And of course, it's my home state's ship, so I've got to give it a little bit of love, right? Unfortunately, I just don't have any planes nearby. And you can see that I've been moving my ship too. I haven't really talked about that, but I have been positioning my ship itself in the background, trying to basically get myself as close to the enemy as possible without putting myself in any danger. And this does help if you learn how to do that. It's very, very handy to be able to do that so that you can maximize the amount of strikes you're able to put out. Now we do have the Dive Bomber Squad 5 here, and we're going to try and manual drop on him. I expect to lose a lot of planes to this guy. And he is starting to shred them, but I'm not sure if he's full AA spec. We get 2 fires on him. He's probably going to repair those if he has his repair available. We did get the high caliber. And now I'm getting the, well, hopefully getting my dive bombers, the 2nd squadron over there, as well as getting the torpedo bombers over there as well. But the game is almost over, and if he gives any broadside to this Zao, we're probably going to see a very quick end to this Minotaur. Let's see if we can get one more drop on him, though. Come on. Oh, he's playing a dangerous game with that Zao. And that Zao knows it because he's showing, yup, okay, torps are inbound. And he gets deleted by the Iowa. So when I was recording the actual replay, and playing the actual replay, I should say, my internet decided that it wanted to help you guys out and make this video a little bit shorter by basically logging me out of the game before I could get screenshots of the scorecard. So since it doesn't save that after you log out, I don't actually have those screenshots. But remember, basically, high caliber Witherer, pretty much an even amount of damage, I would guess, between, the torpedo bombers, the dive bombers, and then the damage over time that they caused. So, yeah. And, of course, 200,000 damage. Anyways, let's go to, well, we actually do have a lot of choices to research here. The first, I use the standard, normal stock, I guess you will, flight control module here. 2 fighters, 1 torpedo bomber, and 2 dive bombers. That feels very balanced to me, and so I like it quite a bit. You don't have, less fighters than you really need, but you don't have more than you need. And you have some offensive capability to attack other ships as well. So it feels comfortable to me. That's what I use. I would personally recommend getting especially if you go for the strike module, I would recommend upgrading your fighters first. You start off with these tier 9 planes. I would get the tier 10 fighters, then I would get the tier 10 dive bombers, and finally I'd finish out with the tier 10 torpedo bombers. To me, you don't get enough, you don't have enough torpedo bomber squadrons to really warrant getting this upgraded first. So fighters to help protect yourself, especially again if you go for the strike loadout here, which is 113. Then the dive bombers, because that is where a majority of your power comes from with the American carriers. And then finally finish off with the torpedo bombers. You do have one final loadout here. Again, I mentioned the strike. 1 fighter, 1 torpedo bomber, and 3 dive bombers. You do have the air superiority loadout, which is 3 fighter squadrons, no torpedo bombers, and 2 dive bombers. To me, again, I just kind of feel like if you get this far in a carrier, you ought to be doing more than just going out to shoot down other planes. So I don't get it. That's why I haven't even purchased the thing. I have plenty of silver, and yet I still think it's a waste to spend it on this for me. So, yeah. Consumable-wise, you want the Damage Control Party 2, and you can probably get away with Defensive AA Fire 1 here. I don't see a lot of people going for the carrier snipes, but it does happen every now and again, so having the premium version of that is still helpful. However, it is, it's pretty rare, but when you do have it happen, it's nice to have, so yeah. Upgrade Rise, Air Groups Mod 1, this is pretty self-explanatory. Give your fighters a little bit more damage. In the second row, or second slot, Air Groups Mod 2, this will give you more health to your fighters, and a much-needed boost to ammunition, in my opinion. The US fighters have a lot of ammo, but if you use strafing mechanics a lot, which I tend to do whenever I use the fighters, you didn't really get to see it this match, because the carrier pretty much died, but I don't even still know when he died. I'll have to go back and rewatch the video when I'm done to find out when he exactly died. But yeah, we didn't really see it, but you do start to run out of ammunition sometimes, and strafing is a very, very good thing to learn if you're using the US carriers. Slot number 3, Air Groups Mod 3. You'll want this to help give your bombers a lot more health. This will help them punch through that AA bubble a little bit easier and do a little bit more damage without losing as many planes. Damage Control System Mod 1 in the 4th slot. This is very handy for, reducing the amount of flooding and fire, or excuse me, the flooding chance of the torpedoes and the risk of fire. Following that up with Damage Control System Mod 2 to help further reduce the duration of both of those. Finally, you'll want Concealment Systems Mod 1 because even with a concealment perk on my commander, your detectability range is still 13.5 kilometers. So without the concealment specialization, you really do get spotted from a lot further away than you would like. So yeah, go for concealment on this ship. For the captain, it's the same exact captain that I have in my Enterprise video, but we'll go over it again. I'd start with Aircraft Servicing Expert. This is very, very handy. You get a little bit more points to the hit, or a little bit more hit points, I should say, to your planes, as well as a 10% bonus to servicing them. Following that up with Torpedo Acceleration. After that, Torpedo Armament Expertise is very nice, and then finally you'll want Air Supremacy. Then you have a couple of smaller skills here. I would probably get Dogfighting Expert if you're grinding up to this. This will help you and basically until you get to tier 10. You see, one of the things that it does is it gives you a little bit more damage for each difference in tier that you're facing someone. So when you just get that new carrier and you've got the lower tiered planes, for example, if I wanted to use the stock plane, if I still have the stock planes on the Midway, this would help me out by giving me a little bit more DPS from each plane since they're tier 9. It also gives you a little bit more ammo, and that's always active, but not the top part there where it's, difference in tiers. So it's kind of handy as you're grinding up, but less handy when you actually get the Midway fully elite. So yeah, the ammo is nice though. Adrenaline Rush is very, very handy though in case you do get attacked. I would probably wait till after I got Concealment Expert though before I finally get Adrenaline Rush. Ultimately, you don't really want to be attacked in the first place, so getting that concealment to make it harder for them to actually see you is very nice, but Adrenaline Rush is very, very handy for when you are under attack. Finally, there would be, I think, 2 more points. I really don't know where I would put those, to be honest. This isn't really useful in my opinion, this Expert Rear Gunner. I would probably use it on maybe High Alert, a little bit better damage control. I'm not quite sure though. That would really be the only thing that I would think would be worth the 2 points, but yeah. Anyways, that is it for my Midway review. I hope my voice isn't starting to sound a little too hoarse for you. But yeah, I like the Midway. It's not a bad ship. A lot of people give it crap for not being as good as the Hakuryu, but the thing is, when you only have 2 tier 10 carriers, one of them has to be worse than the other, so yeah. I just like not having to manage the planes as much since there's fewer squadrons. I like having, planes that are more survivable on a plane-by-plane basis. I also love the 136, units, in my hangar. That's very nice in my opinion. And it just makes it a little bit easier to deal with when you do mess up a couple times and lose a few squadrons. You still got quite a big, hefty reserve. So that's very nice. I like that quite a bit. Anyways, this is a steaming pile of ships signing off. I'm going to start recording the next video for you guys. So hopefully it'll be up fairly shortly after this one. You guys have a good day, and I'll catch you very soon in the next one.